Hello students, welcome to the next class of mass-based spectroscopy, which is also called as gamma spectroscopy. Okay, so it's also called as gamma spectroscopy, which is learned maximum for the iron and tin. Okay, so in yesterday's class we learned regarding the source and sample. So this is the source which is required for the gamma radiation, and sample is where we want to study by effect of this gamma radiated radiation which is emitted by the source. So this from this source we are going to study the effect on in the sample. So what is that source we have taken in the previous video, that is cobalt 57. Cobalt 57, and the source sample which we want to study is the iron 57. Okay, in the sample, or tin it may be. So most probably iron tin is been used maximum for the sample study. So what happens when cobalt 57 undergoes radio decay? So it will emit what? Iron here by electron capture. Okay, and this will undergo again further this one to form ground state iron here. So during this what will happen? Some radiation is been, gamma radiation is been liberated here, which is having an energy of 14.4 kilo electron volt released, and this energy whatever released in the form of gamma rays is been utilized for iron here. So 14.4 kilo electron volt is utilized for the emission. Now here excitation of this sample from ground state to the excited state here. Okay, and emission is been recorded. So here yesterday's video we learned about the recoil energy. So what does we stopped at the recoil energy. So what does this recoil energy now? See, whatever the energy is released here, 14.4 kilo electron volt, is not here utilized fully, because some of the energy is lost here in the form of recoil energy, as I said in the gun. So when you shoot the gun, what will happen? That reverse, the gun will be reversed to your shoulder. So that's what the same thing here. So here total energy is given as ER, recoil energy, plus the energy required for the transition here. What is this recoil energy? So recoil energy is nothing but E square by 2mc square. So where E is mass, so m is the mass of the nucleus, C is the velocity, C is the velocity of the light. Okay, C is the velocity of the light here. Okay, and is the energy, okay, from a ground state to the excited state. Okay, so this is what, and you see here, so if we go for the relation, so recoil energy is inversely proportional to the mass here. So that shows that as we increase the mass, so recoil energy can be minimized, or recoil energy can be made to zero here. So we have to increase the mass. So that's why whenever we go for mass spectroscopy, you can see that the energy waste whatever is happening here because of the lot of energy released here. So that so a signal, because of this energy waste signal, we are not going to get exactly for the sample here, because some of the energy which is required, 14.4, to excite this iron is lost here. So that's why no signal is got here. So depends, so that's why since it depends on the mass of the source always is wrapped in a large solid crystal. So that's why whatever the source we are taking here, so cobalt 57 is wrapped with large crystal solid. So this is wrapped with large crystal solid. Similarly sample is also wrapped with the crystalline solid here. So because we are increasing the mass here, because as per the formula, as we increase the mass, the recoil energy will be zero here. And but when we wrap this with the solid crystal here, the sample and the source, what will happen? The solid crystal also has the vibronic movement here. So that's called phononic vibration. Okay, it is having the phononic vibration here. So recoiling happens here. So because of the phononic vibration, though we are wrapping that with the solid crystals, so in order to avoid this phononic vibrations or vibrations within the solid crystals, always this has been kept at low temperature, because we know that at low temperature the vibration is less. Okay, and that's why always you can see in mass-based spectroscopy that these are the vibration is slowed down by using low temperature with liquid helium or nitrogen is used. Okay, so this is wrapped here, and because in here, so liquid helium or nitrogen is used to lower the temperature here. Okay, and to lower the temperature, but even also the signals, getting the very sharp signal is very difficult here. So next is what? Doppler effect. So improvement of the signals can be done by the Doppler effect here. So what is Doppler effect? We know that the change in the frequency of the sound or the light, is it right? So in the last video, in the last semester, I had told you Doppler effect. So as the source sample is been fixed here, then source we can vary, okay, either positive or negative. So source we can bring near to the sample or far of the sample here. So far of the sample means negative signals and near to the sample means positive. This is called Doppler effect, okay, the frequency variation. So whenever the source is coming near to the source, then the frequency is increased. As we go far of the source, the frequency is decreased. This is called Doppler effect. And see the signal. So depending on this movement, the intensity can be increased here, okay, so minimized, so ER can be minimized and everything, and we are going to get good signal here. And how the graph will be, the intensity versus speed of the source, like this. The speed of the source either positive or negative intensity, so what intensity the sample is going to absorb now. So the graph comes in this way, okay, so here the positive is there, here negative is there. So you can see here, so negative means that source is away from the sample, and positive means the source is coming towards the sample here. So like this, so you can see here almost constant is there, then one peak will come here which is having the absorption, and constant is there. This graph is with respect to the reading of speed versus intensity. So speed you can see here minus 0.2 0.1012, so you can see 10 to the power of 2, 10 to the power of 2, 10 to the power of, that means constant you are going to get 10 to the power of 2. Then suddenly you see that it comes to be 0, okay, so 10 to the power of 2, so the 0.1 positive, you get 10 to the power of 0 here. So that's what absorption takes place here. Again 0 to the power of 2, again it is increasing, and again constant it remains. So depending on this graphical data, so you are going to get this peak here in mass Beer spectroscopy in the fashion of in this way. Now how we can identify with respect to the different complexes, for example, how many signals this Fe2CO9 can give. So Fe2CO9, if you see the structure, so it has been this way. So if you see the iron here nucleus, so it is having the same environment. So this iron is attached to this carbonyl and 3 carbonyl here bridged. So 3 carbonyl here, 3. So almost one signal you are going to get in the mass Beer spectra for this complexes, that is what Fe2CO9. So one signal chemical equivalent iron, 2 irons are chemically equivalent here in nature, so that's why you are going to get a one signal. Similarly, if you see Fe3CO12, so Fe3CO12, you see the structure here. So this Fe3CO12, 1 2 3 1 2 3, 2 bridges, that means these 2 iron are having equivalent chemical nature here. So 3 carbonyl here, 3 carbonyl terminal, 2 bridged. But this iron you can see here, 4 carbonyl is here, which is terminal, and this iron is attached to these 2 different irons here, and they don't have any bridged carbonyl like this. So that's why almost how many signals you may get here. So you are having these 2 are chemical equivalent, but this is not equivalent. That's why 2 signals you are going to get for this Fe3CO9 in mass Beer spectroscopy. So here when these signals comes, and this is how it depends on the structure here, then there is a term called isomer shift, okay, delta. So which is been also seen in the mass Beer spectroscopy. And then what is this isomer shift delta? Delta isomer shift means you require the standard here, reference standard, and the sample, and the difference in this peak whatever we get, we call it as isomer shift. And it depends on the difference in the electron density around the nucleus, okay. This, as in NMR and all we have seen this chemical shift, similarly isomer shift, it also depends on the electron density around the nucleus. So here what sample we are taking, always we are taking tin or the iron, I said. So iron 57 sample we are taking, and the reference for this iron 57, like in ESR we have taken DPPH. So like here in mass Beer we are taking sodium nitroprusside Na2FeCN5H2O. So this is a complex of sodium nitroprusside which is taken as a standard. And if you see the formula for isomer shift delta, okay, isomer shift delta, it is given by K delta R by R psi square minus C S. So this is constant K, and C is also constant here. And what is psi here? So psi S is nothing but electron density in the S orbital S orbital. And what is R? Delta R? Delta R is nothing but R of E minus R of G, that is radius of excited nucleus, radius of nucleus in the excited state, and radius of nucleus in the ground state, okay. This is what R. And this R is this R, what is this R is average nucleus, radius of a nucleus, average radius of a nucleus, okay. Now now if we want to calculate the isomer, taking an example of Fe iron, Fe plus, Fe plus 2, Fe plus 3 example is here. Now if we want to know the isomer shift of these four nucleus iron having different oxidation state here, so how we can do it? So as we know from the formula, delta is the so and so. So here it depends on the electron density of the s orbital here, okay. And if you see the delta value for iron 57 is always negative value, okay. So delta R is negative for iron value. So this is negative. Delta R is negative for always for iron value. Now if you calculate this delta, this becomes negative value, negative value. So negative value will be large here, okay. So negative is coming more here. So that's why always that's why one simplification we can do here is what? So delta is inversely proportional to psi s. That means what? More the electron density in s orbital, less will be the isomer shift. Okay, remember it. More the electron density in s orbital, less will be the isomer shift here. Okay, so s orbital electron density is very much important. Okay, so highest the s orbital electron density, less will be the chemical shift. Okay, now taking to this consideration and this formula here, now we will consider this three example here. So these three example we will take it here. So what is that example? So Fe, okay, Fe, Fe plus, Fe plus 2 and Fe plus 3. What is Fe? So this is comes to be 4s2 3d 6 la 6 7 8, yeah, 4s2 3d 6. Then what will come here? So this one electron is removed here, that is 4s1 3d 6. So what will come? Fe plus 2 4s0 3d, again here 6 will come, and here 4s0 3d 5. Now this is that. Now if I want to go for order for this isomer shift, okay, order means either lesser or greater here. So how we can go for this? Fe plus, you can see here s orbital is this is 3d6 and 3d6. In both d orbital there is 6 electron. So only whatever s orbital you can see here. So s orbital, here there is 2 electron and here there is 1 electron. So electron density s orbital is more here. So what is what is coming here relation? More the electron density in s orbital, less will be the chemical shift. So there is very simple here. If we consider Fe and Fe plus here, so since it is more electron density is more in s orbital, d6 d6, so this is less. So chemical shift of Fe is less than the Fe plus. So chemical shift delta value of Fe is less than the Fe plus here. Now you consider these two, okay, Fe plus and Fe plus 2. So here what will happen here? 4s1 is there, 3d6 3d6 same is there, d6 is there, but here you see Fe s orbital electron density is more, here it is less. So obviously here also it is same. Fe plus will be less than Fe plus 2. The isomer shift of Fe plus will be less than Fe plus 2. Now you consider these two here, Fe plus 2 and Fe plus 3. Fe plus 2 you can see here 4s0, here is 4s0, very good. But here it is d6 and d5. So here d6 is there in Fe plus 2, but in Fe plus 3 this d5 is there. So more the number of d orbital, what will happen? Screening effect will take place. Okay, so p and d orbital are definitely having the more screening effect, and that will decrease the intensity of the electrons in the s. Is it right? So since it is more now, so what will happen? 4s0 4s0 is there, but due to more d6, what will happen? This will decrease the intensity. This will decrease the intensity of the 4s orbital. So that's why Fe plus 2 will be greater here now. So Fe plus 2 is greater than isomer shift will be greater than Fe plus 3. So like this the chemical shift, isomer shift in the mass pair will help with this formula. We can go for any of the nuclei to calculate the isomer shift of this. Hope you understood this concept of isomer shift. Then how we can undergo the peaks with respect to these structures of the compound, as well as we have learned the recoil effect. So what is the recoiling effect, how it can be minimized, Mossbeer effect, as well as this basic principle of the Mossbeer spectroscopy. Okay, in the next video we will go for another few examples to know all these things, isomer shift and different peaks also we will learn it in the next video. Thank you, have a nice time.